Good morning, everyone. We're in Isaiah 57 this morning, and we have a really fascinating couplet of verses that begin this chapter. It says, "The righteous perish, and no man takes it to heart. Merciful men are taken away, while no one considers that the righteous is taken away from evil. He shall enter into peace. They shall rest in their beds, each one walking in his uprightness." We wrestle many times with the question of why do good people suffer bad things in this life, or why do bad things happen to good people? We, in understanding our world, have learned from Newton that there is such a thing as cause and effect. That if we take a cue ball on a pool table and we hit it with the cue, and the ball rolls down the table and smashes into the other balls, that we would expect all the other balls to move in reaction to the force of the cue ball hitting them. One action leads to a reaction. Cause and effect. We understand this very easily in the world. But when we try to apply that to spiritual things, we don't always see that link up between cause and effect. Many times what we see is something that seems to be cause and an effect that's not expected. So let me give you an example. You have somebody who is good and they lead a good life, and they either get sick with a disease, or maybe they suffer financial problems, or maybe they're persecuted in some way. And obviously the best example of this is Jesus Christ, who is the righteous one, who lived a perfect life, did good to everyone, healed the sick, let the blind see, the lame walk, the deaf could hear, cured the lepers, fed the masses. He did all of those good things, teaching the people, and yet he was condemned as a criminal, scourged, and sentenced to death by crucifixion. And when we look at those things, within the time period of the temporal life, a lot of times we say it doesn't make any sense that good people face bad things. What's the point of being good? What's the point of following God? The problem is the time period that we are evaluating the equation. When Jesus died on Calvary, if that was the only thing that happened, if there was nothing that happened after that, we could have a case against God for not being just. But we know that that wasn't the end of the story, that Jesus was buried in the tomb, that he rose on the third day, and because of his obedient death, that salvation came to the whole world. So God made the whole equation balance. He made the good cause that went in have a good effect on the outside, but we had to wait a period of time to see it. And this verse kind of gives us a clue to what's happening maybe in the heavenlies when we see situations like this in our own lives. When we see somebody who's good and they seem to die earlier or have difficulty in their life, what the prophet is saying here is that nobody is considering that God is taking them away from evil, that God ended their life to spare them more suffering in this world, and to let them enter into the peace that he's prepared for them. So in this sense, he's saying that the righteous who are perishing are being blessed because they no longer have to deal with the difficulties of life. But that's not how it will work with the evil. I make a big point about this, and I've spent so much time talking about this, to help you when you are dealing with things that seem to make no sense spiritually in your own life. When it seems that you're doing everything right, but nothing is going right. Understand that God is just, and God is preparing for you an abundant blessing. But God uses sometimes these seasons of suffering in our life to not only mold us and conform us more into the image of his son Jesus, but as a testimony against those who are unrighteous, that they would take those things that are good and beautiful and slander them And in so doing, make themselves a clear target of God's righteous judgment. They find themselves guilty by their own behavior. So, the righteous perish, and no one takes it to heart, considering that the righteous is taken away from evil. There's a lot to think about. Mull this over. Talk to God about it. You may see some situations in a completely new light when you keep this in mind. Have a great day, guys. Bye.